Hi there, Nancy Mueller here with another Mastering Your Belief and Life is All About Choices weekly live video. You know, I'm kind of excited about today's topic, swiping right. If any of you are out there dating, or if you've heard of this dating app where, you see a picture of someone, you swipe right, it means yes, I like to know more about you. You swipe left, you're like, no, that's it. I'm putting that behind you. It's kind of like if you think about, left is if you're thinking about, time and space. Left is like behind you, and right is going forward. So it makes sense, when they say swipe right, that's something that lies ahead of you. But it's tempting, isn't it, when we are faced with something that we don't know. If we had an app where we could say, okay, there's something in my life I don't want to face, so I want to just swipe left. But not having the experience is exactly what's going to keep us from learning more about it. And I don't know about you, but dating, you can't just look at a picture of someone or even read a bio and say, yeah, this is the person for me, or no, this isn't the person for me. When I started dating, it was interesting because I thought, oh, I don't know what to do here. I think I'll just, put my professional bio out there. That makes sense to me. It tells what I am, who I am, what I do. And, then it gets down to the stuff that you like to do. And so much goes into it. So you have to be really vulnerable when you're on a dating site, right? You have to put yourself out there. But being on a dating site isn't any different than anything else we do in our life. You have to be really vulnerable at work when you're trying to share something new, or maybe there's a new project or a team building event or something where you have to put a part of you that you've kind of kept in the background out in the foreground and let people know who you really are. When you're in a relationship, if you are the one who is constantly making the moves, making the decision, and the other person isn't doing that, it can get to a point where it's all kind of one-sided. So if you had that app, right, you could just say, oh, I just swiped left. I don't want to deal with this anymore. So let's think about how swiping right actually eliminates the fear. When you are willing to step into whatever it is that you are too afraid to do, or at least you've told yourself you're too afraid to do it, that's what gives you the experience. And you might think that you know what the outcome is going to be, but no one can really know what the outcome is going to be until they're actually doing it. Now, we might have past experiences that have said, oh, when you do this, this happens. When you do that, that happens. But see, that's a belief. You've created a belief based on something that's happened in the past. Then you've told yourself a story around it. And so now here you are today having to make a choice, a decision, and you say, based on what's happened in the past, we're not going to do this. This is just not something that I want to do. But think about putting yourself out there. Think about going forward, right? We're swiping right. We're going forward. You don't know what's going to happen in the future because it hasn't happened yet. But if you're basing your future on your past, you're always going to be stuck because you've got one foot in the past and one foot in the future. And you really can't go forward. You can't go backwards. You can't go forward. So you're just kind of stuck. You're stuck right here. So stuck in this stuck place, this is where we struggle. Because we've told ourselves a story about, if I do this based on past experience, that is going to happen. So I thought I'd share kind of an example for you. Maybe this will help with this analogy. So when I was younger, I had a father who just really enjoyed terrorizing myself and my siblings. That's the kind of person that he was. So he would take me and he would put me up on the counter and he would say, jump to me, Nancy, jump to me. And so of course I would jump to him. And as I started to jump, he would move his hands and I would fall. And then he would put me back up on the counter and he'd say, did you learn anything? Come on, Nancy, jump to me, jump to me. okay, so, in my little kid mind, I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to jump. If I jump, you're going to move your hands. What am I, nuts? No, I'm not going to do that. See, but the problem is with him, it became a question of, I'm telling you to do something, you're not doing what you're told. So if you don't do what you're told, you're going to get punished. So now, see, I already have this idea in my head, like, okay, if I jump, I'm going to fall and maybe hurt myself. If I don't jump, I'm going to get punished. And we all know what that means. This is going to happen, that's going to happen. So it was like a lose-lose situation for me. So my child self got used to making decisions kind of like from the fire or the frying pan into the fire. So when you're always faced with a decision and you feel like no matter what choice you make, it's not going to come out well, you take in those feelings and those emotions and you say, okay, this is the way life is. This is what happens. It's not going to be easy. But I am going to make this work. I am not going to let anyone, get to me or make a fool out of me or whatever it is that you tell yourself. And see, this is where we create our beliefs in childhood about things that we've brought with us into our adulthood. And now we have so many adults walking around in their present adult state, but they're still making choices based on childhood beliefs. So I had to get to a point where at some time in my life, on my journey, I had to realize, okay, just because I'm faced with a decision, it doesn't mean it's going to be a bad or worse outcome. And I had to stop and think, like, why do I think that way? Because obviously, as you can imagine, when I am faced with something where I feel like there's no good outcome, no positive outcome, that it can only be a bad situation or a worse situation, you really don't want to make any choices. You don't want to move forward, or you start to believe that you shouldn't even try. Why put yourself out there? It's only going to end in doom and gloom and maybe getting hurt physically, mentally, emotionally, or spiritually. So this is where our beliefs come from, something that happened in childhood. Now, understand that that was my negative experience. It doesn't necessarily mean that you had to have a negative experience around something in childhood. Let's say that you're an adult and you're overweight and you've tried everything that you can think of to try and slim down or get healthier and it's just not working. Well, perhaps think back to your childhood. What were your memories? What are your memories of childhood, eating, or that revolves around eating? And if it is something about, well, I always had a great time at the dinner table with my family. We laughed, we talked, we joked, we got to know each other, we really bonded, we really communicated, we really supported each other. So you can see that you, as a child, would have created feelings and emotions of contentment and security around eating. So is it any wonder now you bring that with you into your adult life and you don't even realize that food gives you that kind of emotional comfort? So you see, it doesn't have to be a negative experience. We are so prone to blaming parents for something that happened. But there comes a certain point in our life when we have to finally say, okay, the blame has to stop because I am an adult now. I can no longer blame where I am today based on something that happened then. But you won't know to do that unless you start someplace. Maybe it's this video, maybe someone has shared something with you that's going to have you step outside of the way you normally think, believe, or behave. So if you're struggling with something in your life, if you're in a transition of some kind, and you feel like you have one foot stuck in the past and one foot stuck in the front, and one foot is behind you and one foot is to the right, and you really, really, really want to step out of the struggle, you want to move out of the transition, and you're ready to stop struggling, think about, hey, what if I just swipe right? I don't really know where I'm going, but I know where I've been and I know what that outcome is. And instead of basing my future on my past, why don't I give myself permission to eliminate my fears by swiping right? Because you absolutely have the power to step out of that belief, that mindset that's got you so mired into something that is just holding you prisoner. Because I promise you, every struggle, every transition that you're going through, it's based on something that your higher self is saying, hey, are you ready to let go of this? If you're ready to let go of this, there's something even better waiting for you. I promise you. But if you're still full of fear that it's going to repeat the past, then you're not going to give yourself that permission to jump, right? So maybe just tread lightly. Give yourself permission to just stop and think, hey, what is my belief around this? Why do I make these decisions? And where do I feel stuck right now? What transition am I in? And transitions happen in relationships, divorce, being a new mom, being a newlywed, a new job, you move to a new city or a new state, a new country. There's so many transitions in our lives, and we are fearful of finding out, hey, what is this opening up for me? Because we have a belief somewhere about, ooh, if I do this, this is what's going to happen. So stop creating your future from your past and learn to swipe right and eliminate the fear. In the meantime, this is Nancy Mueller saying ciao for now.